all kind of know the standard creation story, right? The two Steves in a garage, loads of passion, building something totally new.
Yeah, Jobs, the visionary, was the engineering whiz. It's like the defining Silicon Valley legend.
Exactly. But today, we want to dive a bit deeper into those really early Apple days because there was another key player,
Hmm.
someone whose impact, well, it often gets overlooked, but it was absolutely fundamental. You could almost call him the unsung architect of Apple's initial success.
That's a great way to put it, because while Jobs and Wozniak, rightly get tons of attention,
Yeah.
this deep dive is really about Mike Markkula's crucial contributions.
Right.
And if you're interested in how these groundbreaking ideas actually become lasting companies and, the importance of roles maybe outside the main spotlight, Markkula's story is just essential.
Yeah.
It really shows how that big vision needs, well, practical know-how to actually take off.
Precisely. So our mission today is to really get a handle on the indispensable role Mike Markkula played. We're calling him the stabilizer in those really critical early years of Apple.
Okay.
We've looked at sources detailing his involvement, and it's pretty clear his contribution was way more than just, writing a check.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's start there. Who was this experienced guy who teamed up with the two young Steves?
Well, yeah, Markkula was definitely not a novice. He wasn't some young dreamer, fresh out of school. He was seasoned, had a really strong engineering background.
Okay.
He got both his bachelor's and master's degrees in electrical engineering from USC.
Yeah.
And that technical foundation is, I think, really important to remember.
Right.
He wasn't just a finance guy. He actually
Mhm.
understood the technology underneath it all.
Interesting. So, yeah, not just a lucky investor who happened to find a good bet. He had real technical chops. What about his work experience before Apple?
Well, his early career was pretty significant. He worked at Hughes Aircraft on, get this, classified aerospace electronics projects.
Wow, okay.
So that tells you something about his grasp of complex systems early on. Then, and this is crucial, he moved to Fairchild Semiconductor.
Ah, Fairchild, the legendary seedbed for Silicon Valley.
Exactly, a real hotbed of early chip innovation. And he moved up the ranks there, eventually becoming their marketing director. So he got this really strong grasp, not just of the tech itself, but how to actually sell it, how to bring it to market.
Okay, so engineering knowledge and marketing smarts, that's already, a much fuller picture than just two guys tinkering in a garage. Where did he go after Fairchild?
So in 1970, he joined a company that was relatively new then, called Intel.
Intel, right, also founded by Fairchild people.
Yep, Fairchild alumni.
Hmm.
And this was a huge time for memory chips. Markkula was right in the thick of it, product marketing, even setting up systems for handling customer orders.
Hmm.
And his time at Intel was incredibly successful, not just career-wise, but financially. Through stock options, he became a millionaire by the age of 30.
Wow, okay. Millionaire by 30, and then he retired early in Cupertino. That almost sounds like the end of the story, not the lead up to Apple.
You're absolutely right. In 1974, aged just 32, he's financially independent, living in Cupertino. But you know how it is in the Valley.
Retirement doesn't always stick.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
pretty brief. In 1976, Don Valentine, a big-name venture capitalist, introduced Jobs and Wozniak to him.
Ah, the introduction. And what did Markkula think? Seeing these two young guys, their Apple II computer, he obviously didn't just brush them off.
Not at all. Apparently, he was immediately hooked by Woz's machine. He saw something more than just, a gadget for hobbyists.
He saw the potential.
Yeah, the potential for a personal computer that was actually user-friendly, that could reach way beyond the tech enthusiasts, where others maybe saw just passion and maybe some inexperience in a garage. Markkula, he saw the future.
And he didn't just see it, he backed it. Big time, right? It wasn't just pocket change,
That's such a critical point. He personally put in about $250,000,
which was a lot of money back then.
a huge amount. But maybe even more importantly, considering their plans, he secured a big line of credit for Apple from the bank.
Right, so basically pre-approved loans. Access to cash when they needed it.
Exactly. Vital for managing cash flow when you're trying to grow fast. This money, both his investment and the credit line, was absolutely essential. It let them move beyond that garage setup
Allowed them to actually buy parts, scale up manufacturing.
and turn a cool prototype into a real product people could buy. It made them a viable business.
So, okay, the money was huge, but he didn't just hand over cash and walk away, did he? The sources suggest he got really involved.
Deeply involved. He became Apple's third employee. Think about that.
Just the two Steves and then Markkula.
Right. And he brought something the founders, brilliant as they were, maybe didn't have yet business sense. What the sources call adult supervision.
Huh, okay. A mentor figure.
Yeah, pretty much. Guiding them through the messy bits of building and running an actual company.
And one of the first really concrete things he did was help write Apple's original business plan. Doesn't sound glamorous, maybe, but so fundamental.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. A good business plan is your roadmap, isn't it?
Yeah.
It forces you to actually define your vision, figure out who you're selling to, plan for growth.
And Markkula's experience must have been invaluable there.
Totally. Apparently, the plan they wrote projected sales way beyond what Jobs and Woz initially thought possible. It pushed them to think bigger, to get the manufacturing lined up.
And he helped shape the marketing message, too.
Yeah, using his background from Fairchild and Intel. He understood they needed to position the Apple II not just as, like, a tech marvel, but as a tool for regular people, user-friendly. That was a key differentiator from the early hobbyist machines.
He even brought in Michael Scott as the first CEO, so Markkula recognized that passion needed professional management, too.
Exactly. As Apple started growing really fast, Markkula saw they needed more structure, a more strategic approach. Jobs was focused on the product, was on the engineering.
Someone needed to actually run the growing company day to day.
Right. Markkula was focused on those practicalities. Bringing in Scott was a strategic move to add that professional management layer.
Startups always hit bumps in the road, though. It sounds like having Markkula there with his experience was a big help navigating those early challenges.
He was that stabilizing force. That's why the stabilizer fits so well. When things got tense internally or big strategic calls had to be made.
This happens all the time in startups.
All the time. His calm, experienced view often helped sort things out, kept them moving forward. He also really backed key projects, even when others were maybe skeptical.
Like the Macintosh.
Yeah, his belief in the Mac project, his support for it, was apparently really important in those early stages.
It's like he provided the ballast, you know? Balancing out the intense energy of Jobs and Wozniak.
That's a good analogy. And his role didn't stop once Apple was established. He stuck around. And crucially, after Jobs left in '85, he stepped up into a major leadership role.
Right, that was a huge moment. Jobs gets pushed out. Markkula becomes chairman of the board.
That's right. Chairman from 1985 all the way to 1997. Over a decade. And that was a really uncertain time for Apple.
Oh, you hear stories.
Many people think that without his steady hand during those years, Apple might have just failed.
Wow, seriously.
It's a real possibility. He provided stability, direction, made sure the core values, that innovation spirit, didn't just vanish when Jobs left.
That's incredible to think about. The Apple we have today might not even exist without Markkula holding things together then. He really was this constant presence.
Yeah, guiding them through all the shifts in the tech world.
Until, of course, 1997, the return of Steve Jobs. How did Markkula fit into that picture?
Well, by '97, Apple was in trouble again, facing big challenges. Markkula saw they needed a dramatic change.
And maybe saw that Jobs coming back was the best or only shot?
Perhaps. He recognized the need for a shift, saw the potential in Jobs' return, and he made the decision to step aside.
Gracefully.
Seems like it. An acknowledgement that a different kind of leadership was needed for the next chapter. His stepping down really cleared the path for Jobs' famous second act.
The one that led to the iPod, iPhone, everything. So he helped build the foundation, kept it steady through rough seas, and then knew when to let someone else take the helm. Mike, the stabilizer, Markkula, his impact feels much bigger than usually acknowledged.
Absolutely. He's that quiet force, the unsung architect. His story is such a powerful reminder that innovation isn't just about the brilliant idea.
Right.
It absolutely needs practical execution, smart strategy, steady leadership to actually work. The money was crucial, yes, but his business sense, his mentoring, his sheer commitment.
Just as important, maybe more so.
Arguably, yeah. For Apple's survival and eventual massive success, he really was the anchor in that early storm, the steady hand when things got turbulent.
So I guess the big takeaway here is, yeah, we celebrate Jobs and Wozniak, and rightly so. But Apple's early wins, and maybe even its survival, owe a massive debt to Mike Markkula.
Couldn't agree more.
He was so much more than just the money guy. His business expertise, that steady leadership, truly foundational.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How many other huge successes have their own unsung architects? These essential people, maybe less visible, who played roles just as crucial in shaping, the companies and technologies we rely on every day. What other hidden figures are out there?